So here's a real example of how I would treat quad tendinopathy in a lifter. So the first thing I would do is try to determine and evaluate them to make sure that that is what their pain is coming from. And combined with a whole battery of tests, one of the big things that I use to determine whether it's a tendinopathy would be testing it with some isometrics to warm up the tendon. So I would do 3 rounds of 30 to 45 seconds of an isometric, and then I would test a motion that was previously painful and see if it had a large improvement in symptoms. That would be a pretty good indication that the tendon is part of the issue, along with, like I said, many other things that I won't get into. So I'm starting with a couple rounds of these isometrics to get some pain relief at the start of the session. But for the quad tendon specifically, it's very sensitive to stretch and compression in deeper knee flexion. So we're starting at a bit more of a shallow angle for knee flexion, as you can see here. So as to not derail his training, I want to keep everything we do pretty close to what he would normally do in his session for his squat day. So we're doing his normal squats, but we're doing a slow tempo with a pause at the bottom to break up that stretch shortening cycle, which is going to place more stress on the tendon. We could, if he was even more sensitive, we could do a box squat or a pin squat at a higher range of motion as well to avoid some of that compression at the quad tendon like I was talking about. But these actually were pain-free for him. So we were able to load the quad heavy, keep the tendon happy, and provide some of that mechanical tension to create some change at the tendon as well. And then we moved on here to some single leg extensions so that we could bring up any strength differences from side to side. We're also doing these with a slow tempo and a brief pause at the bottom. All right, and then we finished the session with a little burnout on some more yielding isometrics to keep the tendon happy, but also to work on the co-contraction of the quad and the soleus to kind of control knee and the tibial translation, because the soleus also kind of acts with the quad to control that shin leaning forward. So just kind of greasing up the knee at the end to make it feel better, provide that little bit of extra stimulus for the tendon. And then the most important part, we check in with them the next day and follow up, because the tendon is not going to be painful in the moment if it's warmed up correctly. You're not going to know if you had a good response until you check in the following day and see if they had any lasting soreness. And we had a great response here.